Welcome to another State Fair interview. We are virtual here this year, not on the stage at the U of M building. Unfortunately, the fair, of course, not happening in person. We would love to be talking women's hockey on that stage. Instead, we're on the computer screen. Let's introduce the head coach, Brad Frost. And Coach, first of all, good to see you. I wish we were at the State Fair, but I guess the computer screen will have to do today.
It'll have to do, but good to be with you, Mike.
Yeah, and you're a guy from Canada. I have to ask you, we'll introduce your athletes here in a second, but I have to ask you about your introduction to the State Fair. You came down to play hockey at Bethel, of course, all these years now with the Gophers. Are you a guy who really enjoys the State Fair, will take the family out, or are you one that will run the other way because it's too crowded?
I'd say I'm kind of in the middle. Really, the only time we do go as a family is when our team is speaking on stage. But we try and stay there for a few hours and then we get on our way. But obviously enjoy the food and the people watching. But after a few hours, we're good to get out of there.
Yeah, I hear you. What are some stops that you and the family like to make, whether it's a food stand or the animals or the midway with rides or what have you?
Well, we have never actually gone on a ride at the State Fair. When we would come into the State Fair when our kids were younger in the early days, they always saw the Ferris wheel and the rides, and we always steered them the other direction. And now they don't even think about that. So that's good. But obviously all the barns and things like that. When the kids were little, we would go to those. I'm pretty much allergic to nature and all animals, so they would go in there and seem to enjoy that. Now it's pretty much just stopping at the corn on the cob booth, the cheese curd booth. I head over to the poutine stand and then Sweet Martha's cookies, and we're on the bus back to the U.
That poutine gets you back to your Canadian roots a little bit, right?
It does. Love that stuff, and really only have it about once or twice a year, once at the State Fair and another time when I'm in Canada.
Yeah, very good. Is it comparable to the good stuff you get up north?
It's very good, actually. Yeah, it's just standard, right? It's just the French fries with some mozzarella chunks and some gravy smothered over top. I see our players kind of laughing at that, but it's kind of like a heart attack in a bowl. But yeah, if you eat it once or twice a year, hopefully I'm going to be okay.
Yeah, you can just get on the stationary bike or the treadmill, an extra 10 minutes or something to help when that happens.
Well, yeah, they're laughing again as soon as you start saying exercise. So
let's introduce your players here. Emily Brown joins us as well. And Emily, first of all, good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you.
How about your State Fair experience? Take us through when you remember going to the State Fair first. And are you one that really enjoys it, or do you not like it as much?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the fair. I always remember going ever since I was a little kid. My mom grew up really close to the fairgrounds, so she's been going ever since she was a little too. Enjoy it. We usually go at least once a year, sometimes twice. So it's always something to look forward to at the end of summer.
And Grace Zumwinkle, how about you? Your State Fair experience?
I'm not a regular in terms of going often, but I do like going around and seeing people I know or people watching. It's quite entertaining.
Do either of you have a favorite stop? Emily, we'll start with you in terms of whether it's food or rides or shows or what have you.
Definitely the food. It's tough to pick just one stand, but the cheese curds are always incredible, and corn on the cob, cookies, have to do that. And I don't know, just try one thing new each year and make sure you walk a little bit extra because it can get you.
For sure, you get those extra steps in. Grace, how about you? Do you have a stop or some favorite part of the fair when you go?
I'm pretty similar to Emily. I would say either the cookies or the corn on the cob. But usually I like the concerts, the groups that they bring in are good sometimes.
Who have you seen live?
Oh, I can't even remember, but just like there's some good country ones usually. So I try to go to those.
Yeah, gotcha. Coach, is there some value, or what is the value of bringing your team out? I know that you have your fans, then they'll come out and stand by the stage and then, give out the posters and try to pump some tickets and shake hands with people who enjoy Gopher athletics. What's the value to that?
Well, I think just that. It's an opportunity for our players to get up in front of some of our fans and maybe some people that are walking by, just to help promote our sport, help promote our our university and women's hockey. And so it's always nice to see our fans come out there. And, a lot of them have been coming out as long as I've been doing it for 13 to 20 years, depending on the year. And so it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's great to have the U of M building right there as well, with all the academic things in that building also. And then, of course, to have each sport represented is pretty neat.
Well, let's talk some hockey here. And Coach, I'll start with you. And not to bring up, the spring and how disappointing that finish was, but have you gotten over it? I mean, the coping mechanism part of it, that you were a game or two away from maybe, potentially bringing home a national championship for goodness sake. And, basically the ice melts away from you figuratively right there. And obviously a high understandable in terms of why it happened, but certainly it doesn't take away the disappointment. Have you guys, how has that part been through the summer, knowing that it was right there for the taking and it just wasn't able to happen?
Well, I love the way our team was playing too, going into that tournament. And, we were just playing some really good hockey. I think our team was very determined. They felt good. They felt confident going into that weekend against Ohio State. And I just think we were primed for a great run. So it was incredibly disappointing. That was one of, if not the hardest meeting that we've ever had to hold there. And our players already knew about it. It had gotten leaked about a half hour prior to our meeting. But to see every one of our players in tears, our seniors weeping, was very difficult. I know I can speak for myself. I really do believe I was in a little bit of a depression for about a month. And then you add on to the fact that you're holed up in your house for a couple months after that game gets canceled. And so it was tough. I think it's just hard because you just never know what might have been, and feel really bad for our athletes. Like I said, they were ready to go. And so it's difficult. Am I over it? I don't think I'll ever be over it, because we'll always wonder what if, but certainly I've come to terms with it. And now our hope is that we'll have an opportunity this year.
You have built this program on certain pillars that we've talked about before. And in times like this, I would think that your team and even you as a coach would call on those pillars to kind of navigate your way through this time. Did you find that to be the case with your team and your staff?
Yeah, I think, we talk a lot about our values, but the biggest thing is that they're different to everybody in how they live those out on a day-to-day basis. And, a couple of our values are being grateful and being tough. And you talk about opportunities to live those out back 5 months ago. I mean, mentally it was really tough to get that news, but we also at the same time had to choose toughness in that moment and also be grateful for the opportunity of a wonderful season that we had. You look at the spring sports, they had 2 weeks of a season, and then everything else was canceled. We at least had 99% of our season fulfilled, but unfortunately at the most exciting time it ended, excuse me. So it was difficult, but I know our players, because of the type of players that we recruit, while it was hard, they're able to get through things like that.
Yeah, Emily, how about you? I mean, are you now pushing forward, trying to stay as upbeat as you can after such a disappointment 5 months ago?
Yeah, I mean, disappointment's a good word for it. And I can't even imagine going back to that moment, because it was, just so many emotions and what ifs, like Coach Frost was talking about. But I mean, it's out of our control. Obviously, it's in the past. So just trying to focus on the future, like Frosty said, and that's hoping for another chance this year and just controlling what we can control, which is how we prepare for the upcoming year.
And certainly it was a unique summer, I would think, Grace. For much of the summer, there were no rinks open. You couldn't get on ice. Grace, what did you try to do to improve your skills in whatever way you could and continue with physical fitness and get stronger and all those things? Did it present a unique challenge, I would think?
Yeah, early on, I would say it was more of a challenge. As soon as like Minnesota started progressing and opening up more, it became easier and easier for training opportunities. But like as a team, we still found ways to stay together, skate together. Obviously not at the university, but just continuing to like skate together and be together if that's working out has been a nice way to stay in touch with people.
And there were a lot of Zoom meetings, I would assume, over the course of the summer with the team, right?
Yes.
Yeah. How have you been able to get around now the rest of the team at times, and how much of a motivator or just comfort is that to, after not being around, them and only getting to see them, while you're sitting in your room watching on a phone or a computer? How comforting was it, Grace, to be back and seeing your teammates?
I mean, I would say I'm more of a people person, so like I like seeing and interacting with people. Like that's where I gain my energy from. So it's definitely nice to like have a physical presence with someone rather than just seeing them over a screen. But I think for us as a team, like our team is super close knit, so I think being able to come back together and be unified was special for our team.
Coach, what is kind of the plan now as we get close to classes starting? Most, I suppose, would be online, distance kind of learning. In fact, before we went live here, I was eavesdropping on a conversation you guys were all having about getting your class schedules figured out and what classes will be taught where. Between that and then hopefully trying to plan some time on the ice in the fall, is the NCAA going to allow some time on the ice as you hope that the season would get started at some point?
Yeah, unfortunately, there's still more unknowns than there are things that are for sure going to happen. And so with the president's announcement to delay our freshmen getting on campus for 2 weeks and going online for the first 2 weeks, that again throws another wrench into things. I think most of our returners will be on campus. But, our season is supposed to start September 19th. We get a week of practice starting then, and then we're off and running. And I think it's safe to say that that's not going to happen, but we haven't been told yet when our season will start or if it will start. And so still just trying to figure all those things out, waiting for some answers and trying to communicate those off to our team as best we can. But it's difficult because the goalposts keep moving. And so, as Brownie said, we're just trying to control what we can, be as honest and forthright as possible, and hopefully we'll have some more information as we go. But even if our season does get delayed, certainly our hope is, as coaches and players, is that we'll be able to be on the ice with them for certain amounts of time throughout the week, but we haven't been told that yet.
Yeah, in terms of being able to practice and work out. How optimistic are you that you can have a season? I think I heard Bob Motzko last week mention he's promoting, hey, Thanksgiving sounds like a good time to start as schedule, like start games maybe, because that's a time where even if there were in-person learning from Thanksgiving, really all the way to middle January, there's not a lot of traffic around campus. How optimistic are you that maybe there'll be a season of some sort at some point? I mean, let's keep our fingers crossed that there will, right?
Yeah, I'm optimistic. What it looks like, it's obviously going to look different than it has in the past, but whether that's that Thanksgiving time, I like that timing as well, to get a few series in before kids go home for the Christmas break. But the other thing that's being thrown around there that a lot of fall sports will be starting up, a January 1 type start date. But the concern from my standpoint is if they don't move the NCAA championship, the Frozen Four, from mid-March to sometime later, the concern is the January 1 start date, and then it's a 16-game season. And I don't think that's fair for our athletes and the time that they put in either. So if it does move to a January 1 start date, hopefully the NCAA is willing to move the championship a little later and we can have a little more of a full season.
Well, Emily, let's assume for the sake of our discussion, with our fingers crossed and our hands folded, that there is a season. How good can this Gopher hockey team be?
Really good. I mean, it's exciting just thinking about it and itching to get back on the ice with all the girls because we just have such a fun, dynamic team both on and off the ice, and a lot of good talent in our freshman class that I know they're excited to get on the ice and showcase that. So it's just exciting. There's a lot to look forward to, and whether that's playing before the end of 2020 or after, we'll be ready to go.
And Grace, from an on the ice standpoint, the next step for you is in terms of production, in terms of leadership. What is that next step for you to help this team?
I'd say continuing just from where we left off last year. I think as a team, we were starting to find our stride just in terms of connecting with people on a line or as a D pair. So continuing to build off that. But as you start on campus as a freshman, you want to be trending up in a linear direction. So for me, like, that's my objective going into this season.
And now that you've been around, the block, for a couple of years here, and the comfort level, how do you help welcome that highly touted freshman class in to make sure that they know, how to go about their business, but feel comfortable as well?
I think especially like when I came on as a freshman, the biggest thing for me was just like taking someone under my wing. And like I had someone do that for me with Nicole Schammel, and like just kind of taught me the ropes and like what is acceptable and like what isn't, and like when to like push your buttons here and like when to just like step back and like watch it all unfold. So I think like doing that like from a senior class top down is kind of like what we're hoping to initiative in our incoming freshmen.
Gotcha. Very good. Well, hey, I wish we were at the state fair. I wish Coach could be plowing into some poutine right now as we're finishing with an interview on the stage. Making me hungry, by the way, because there is a place, by the way, Coach, when I go with basketball to Madison, Wisconsin, and there's nothing good in Madison, right? We agree with that. But there is a place that serves a pretty good plate of poutine in Madison if you ever can sneak out of the team hotel sometime. I can't remember the name of it, but it's downtown, and we usually order it. So if you're there, one, beat the Badgers, but two, you maybe can find a plate there. But yeah, you're making me hungry because it's good food. There's no doubt about that. But hopefully next year we'll all be on the stage. Hopefully we're talking about a season. Hopefully we're talking about a national championship, and all those things are hopefully on the horizon. At a minimum, it'll be good to see everyone back on campus. Let's hope here in a few weeks and get classes going.
No doubt. Thanks so much for having us on, Mike.
All right, we enjoyed it. Thank you. That's women's hockey. That's our state fair interview.